Welcome back to Self-Built. Today is a comparison video to see which pulley wheel on Amazon is the best. We're going to go through a couple tests, and I've been using both of these for a couple weeks now, so I've got some pretty good comparisons of what their strengths and weaknesses are. So let's get into it. We'll be comparing these two pulleys against each other, but I have been using a bunch of pulleys in the past, so I know what to look for and what will save you guys time and money, so you can just jump to the best ones and not have to fiddle with all these silly ones. A little bit of backstory is I've been using this pulley wheel for 2 years. It's a 90mm or 3.5 inches pulley. It's been great. I never felt like I was lacking or left me wanting more. But I'm always on the market looking for the next big thing, whether it works better or worse. I just like to share that information with you guys. Comparing this to this size, this is 115mm or 4.5 inches. So I was super excited to see that, because typically from my experience is the bigger the pulley, the more even it's gonna be on the pulling down and going back up of the weight. It just feels a lot more fluid and it feels great. And this one and this one, they are both 115mm. They're the biggest ones I could find on Amazon. And we've got plastic versus aluminum. The first test we're going to do is just a simple sound test. Some people like super quiet gyms, other people don't care so much. So as a reference, I'll show this one and I'll put it up to the microphone so you can hear it. It's not horrible, but you can hear a little bit of noise. I'll put some weight on here too, but this is just before there's weight loaded to it. Then if you compare it to these ones, it's hard to even know if this one's spinning, but this one you can see the spinning spokes. Well, if it's not vibrating. Yeah, both of these, they are super quiet. They're very nice that way, so it makes the gym a little bit quieter, a little more nice luxurious feeling. A cool little side note for you guys is back when I was using these other ones, before this, so these two for example, they're much smaller, and what it does is it really wears out how long these cables will last you before they really need replaced. With this one, it was almost every 3 months. I had to replace them really quick because it was so small. I think this is 1.5 inches. So it had such a harsh bend that it snapped on me one back day. I was just going along, wasn't doing crazy heavy weight, boom, just snapped right in half. So then when I moved up to this one was much better. This got me to about every 6 months of use before I was like, man, maybe I should get rid of it. And then this one going up, so this was a 1.5, this one's 2.5, and this one is 3.5. And I've been using these same cables for 2 years, which is amazing to me. So I've been using these for 2 years and the same cables for 2 years. I am going to replace them after this video just because they do have a little bit of wear on them. They're discolored a little bit. I'll show you a little bit more later on. But this has been amazing. If you're wanting the absolute cheapest pulley wheels, these 90mm, they are cheaper than the 115s. I'm trying to see what the best big pulley is that we can find for this video, but budgetly wise, these ones were the cheapest, and I'll go over all the prices in a little bit. Next test I'm going to do is just a very light-weighted loaded test so you can hear the noise. I've got my original 3.5 inch or 90mm pulley, and I'm just going to put the microphone a little closer so you can really hear what it sounds like. But it's not bad. But if you're working out in a church or something like that and you're trying to not break your silence, those won't do it for you. Next one I have is the 4.5 or the 115mm plastic pulley. So with this one, much quieter. You can hear just a tiny bit. So that is a great improvement. Then the next one I've got is the aluminum ones. It is quieter than the other one, at least from what I can hear. I don't know if you guys can pick it up. But yeah, you can barely make anything out from that. As far as the sound test, I would say that the aluminum one is the clear winner. The second thing I also wanted to know besides sound is how much smoother, if any, is the 4.5 compared to the 3.5. And I am excited to tell you, after about 2 or 3 weeks of testing the 1-inch size bigger, it does make a difference. It's not like huge. I noticed from 2.5 to 3.5, holy crap, that was a big difference. But from 3.5 to 4.5, there is an increase, but it's not as dramatic, but I will say you will notice it. It's mostly when you're lowering the weight, so when you pull down, it feels great, nice and smooth on both of these. But when you lower the weight, it feels super similar to the same weight that you used pulling. As opposed to this, it feels a little bit off, not 100% even. So this is the clear winner. Not just this type, but this size is bigger and better than the 90 millimeters. Another bonus of going from this size to this size is it fills up this bracket a lot more. Now, if you don't have the same bracket as me, you can just drill a hole to make it to where there's just very little room at the top. You won't run into it with this top pulleys, but with the bottom pulleys, with having the smaller one here and a bigger gap in here, it's easier for this cable to fall off track. And I would have to routinely double check and make sure it didn't fall out of track. But with this being an inch bigger, it pretty much keeps it right where it needs to be, which is super nice and convenient. I didn't expect that to happen. But if you have something similar to this and you're not able to close that gap, you can just drill the hole, move it up or down or wherever you need to, so that way you can close that gap and not have that same issue I've been dealing with. There is another test of coolness factor, and these aluminum ones, they just blow this one out of the water. I mean, look how cool this is. It's got spokes and everything, nice and shiny. And when it has a black bracket, it just has a really nice contrast. So for me, I think this is way cooler looking. But if you don't care, this is nice too. As far as the quality of these, I'll show you a little bit closer. They both are very nice quality. Supposedly the weight, it's really hard to find because someone will say one thing, someone says another. I've seen some where some say this is like 450 pounds to 500 pounds. And this is roughly the same. I mean, it's more weight than you'll ever need to do when you're just doing a home gym, especially if you're using multiples. It's just, yeah, it's the last thing I'm worried about. But if you're worried about it, they're at least 400, maybe even 500 plus weight capacity. So they're good. And then as far as looking at the bearings, this one, it doesn't look like there's much you can do, which is not my favorite. This one, if the camera can pick it up, there are some snap rings in here. At this angle, you can barely make out right there and there the snap ring that goes around this. So that just lets me know that this is easier to take apart. And look at the shiny reflection. Look how cool that is. So this one definitely wins on that factor. Now, as far as the price goes, those 3.5-inch ones, or the 90 millimeters, I got them in a 4-pack and it was about $8 a piece. Which isn't bad at all, because from the hardware store when I was buying those crapo ones from years ago, they were like $5, $6 a piece. So I was thinking back then, whoa, this is all fancy and expensive. Now these ones are, I got a pack of, actually I bought them individually, but 4 at a time. They were $10 a piece, which isn't bad. That's not bad at all. These ones can cost more. And the cheapest ones I found on Amazon, they were about $15 to $16 a piece. So they are significantly more than this. So that may help you decide which one you want to keep, because these are super similar. As far as functionality and getting a good workout in, they're so close. They are so close. I mean, you get a little bit less noise with this and you get the cool factor. Or if you're just like, hey, I just want to get a good workout, feel smooth, budget friendly, this one would be the winner. But for me, I mean, come on. This one's way cool. So I'm taking this one, but I'll leave a link for both of these in the description below. So that way you can make your decision. But as far as the 115 millimeter or 4.5 inches on Amazon, these are clearly the two best ones. And they are better than the 90 millimeter ones. In this case, bigger is better. This is a brand new piece of cable. And these are 2 years used cables. You can clearly see there's a difference. So they've been used and loved a lot. I'm sure they still have a lot of good life left in them, but at 2 years, I am more than satisfied. And what my hope is with these larger 4.5 ones, that these will last even longer. Besides just discoloration of cables, something that you're going to notice when you're using heavy weight is the weights will start to spin a little bit, or when you release all the tension, the wires will start to spin. That's another sign that your cables, they're getting some use, they're getting worn out. So you might want to think about possibly replacing them in the future. So that's another reason I'm wanting to get some fresh cable on those bad boys. I almost forgot, there's one more test that I wanted to show you guys. Another thing I considered when I was comparing the aluminum to these plastic ones is how they felt when I was doing an exercise like flies. And the reason that was important to me is when you're doing an exercise, typically this pulley will stay stationary, and if you have to rotate at all, as if you're doing like a fly and going across your body, the cable will hit the outer part of this channel. And I haven't had any major issues, but you can feel when it's kind of having a little bit of a bind. And with these plastic ones, I do notice, I'll even let you listen. You can definitely hear, and you do feel that minor rubbing, just a little bit. When you compare it to these aluminum ones, they don't make any noise, they don't make any binding. So it does make, I guess you'd call it steering the pulley. It does feel more comfortable too, and it sounds better. And one last thing to compare with all three of these, the originals and the two Amazon ones. I mean, technically this is Amazon too, but this is a different class. This is the big boys right here. The channel for the cables, I just checked on its description and it says the groove width, as far as this goes, is 8 millimeters. And I couldn't really find the ones on these. One of them said it was the same, and I'm like, no, not even close. So if you look at this, just to compare, you got this and you got this. I mean, looks like a size difference here, and this is definitely fanned out more. So it's a little more forgiving, so you can put a larger cable in there if you would like. The aluminum one is pretty much the same width and depth as the other one. But these two are great. My home gym only has 4 pulleys. I've got 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. So for me to buy these more expensive ones, it's not that big of a deal. If I had like a machine that had like 8 to 12 or 10, then I might reconsider and be like, oh, I don't care that much. Maybe I'd spray paint these chrome. Something like that. But I would say if you only have a few, you're gonna use it. That's the most important thing. If you're gonna use your gym equipment, it doesn't matter if you splurge a little bit, because the more you use it, the more you get out of it. So if you're feeling a little wishy-washy, you might not think you're gonna be using it that much, or you just wanna be more economical, then go with the more cheaper one. And if you know you're gonna use it a bunch and you wanna love it every time you see it and use it, definitely use this. But I'll be leaving links below on both of these bad boys. If you guys have any questions or comments about these, definitely let me know. They are both great in my eyes, and even the 90 millimeters are one, but if you want the best, you gotta go with these. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like it and follow and subscribe if you haven't already. And tune in next time for more self-build.